Stop everything right now. 2 hours ago, a bombshell announcement just dropped from Washington that will fundamentally change the lives of millions of immigrants across the United States. We're talking about sweeping policy changes that take effect in just a few weeks, and if you're an immigrant, a visa holder, a green card applicant, or you have family members navigating the U.S. immigration system, what I'm about to tell you is absolutely critical. These aren't minor tweaks or small adjustments. These are massive, game-changing policies that will affect how you apply, how long you wait, how much you pay, and whether you can even stay in this country. Do not click away, because missing this information could cost you your status, your money, or your American dream. Welcome back to U.S. Visa Corner, where we cut through the noise and bring you the truth about what's really happening in American immigration. I'm here to break down the latest developments that have just emerged, and trust me when I say this, you cannot afford to miss what's coming. The landscape of U.S. immigration is shifting beneath our feet, and those who aren't prepared will find themselves caught in a storm they never saw coming. Just 2 hours ago, information began circulating about sweeping policy changes set to take effect in January 2025. These aren't minor adjustments or bureaucratic tweaks. We're talking about fundamental transformations in how the United States approaches immigration, enforcement, visa processing, and the very question of who gets to call America home. Whether you're on a work visa, waiting for a green card, supporting a family member's application, or dreaming of starting your journey to the United States, these changes will impact you directly. Let me be absolutely clear about something before we dive deeper. The immigration system in the United States has always been complicated, often frustrating, and sometimes heartbreaking. Families wait years to be reunited. Talented professionals face endless bureaucratic hurdles. Students worry about their status after graduation. Entrepreneurs struggle to understand which pathway might work for them. And through it all, the rules keep changing, often without warning, leaving millions of people in limbo, uncertain about their future. But what's happening now represents something different. This isn't just another policy adjustment or a slight modification to existing procedures. The changes coming in January 2025 signal a fundamental shift in priorities, enforcement mechanisms, and the very philosophy underlying American immigration policy. And here's what makes this moment so critical. We're standing at a crossroads where the decisions made in the next few weeks will reverberate through the immigration system for years to come. So what exactly is changing? Let's break this down systematically, because understanding the details isn't just important. It could be the difference between success and failure in your immigration journey. First and foremost, enforcement priorities are being dramatically restructured. The agencies responsible for immigration enforcement are receiving expanded mandates and resources to focus on specific categories of cases. What does this mean in practical terms? It means that certain groups of immigrants who may have felt relatively secure in their status could suddenly find themselves under increased scrutiny. The criteria for what constitutes a priority for removal proceedings are being broadened, and the grace period that many people have relied upon is shrinking rapidly. For those of you currently in the United States on temporary visas, whether H-1B work visas, student F-1 visas, or tourist B visas, the margin for error is becoming razor thin. Overstaying your authorized period of stay, even by a few days, could trigger consequences that were previously considered unlikely. The systems for tracking visa compliance are being upgraded with new technology that makes it nearly impossible to slip through the cracks. Automated alerts, data sharing between agencies, and enhanced biometric tracking mean that the government knows exactly where you are and what your status is at any given moment. Employment-based immigration is facing particularly significant changes. The H-1B visa program, which has been a cornerstone for bringing skilled foreign workers to American companies, is undergoing major modifications. The selection process, wage requirements, and compliance obligations for sponsoring employers are all being tightened. Companies that have relied on H-1B workers to fill critical positions in technology, engineering, healthcare, and other sectors are scrambling to understand how these changes will affect their ability to recruit and retain talent. But here's where it gets even more complex. The definition of specialty occupation is being narrowed. Positions that previously qualified for H-1B status might no longer meet the criteria under the new standards. This doesn't just affect new applications. It could impact renewals and extensions for people already working in the United States under H-1B status. Imagine having built a life, bought a home, enrolled your children in school, only to discover that your visa renewal is denied because your job no longer fits the revised definition of a specialty occupation. Family-based immigration, which has always been considered the bedrock of American immigration policy, is also experiencing seismic shifts. The processing times for family-sponsored green card applications, already notoriously long, are expected to extend even further as resources are redirected toward enforcement activities. Priority dates for certain family preference categories could be pushed back by years, leaving families separated for even longer periods than they already endure. For those waiting in the green card backlog, and we're talking about millions of people, particularly from countries like India, China, the Philippines, and Mexico, the situation is becoming increasingly desperate. Many have been waiting for over a decade already, their lives on hold, unable to make long-term plans because their immigration status remains uncertain. The changes coming in January could push their wait times out even further, testing the limits of patience and hope. The asylum system is facing perhaps the most dramatic overhaul of all. The United States has historically been a beacon for those fleeing persecution, violence, and oppression in their home countries. The asylum process, while always challenging, provided a pathway for people facing genuine threats to seek protection and eventually build new lives in safety. But the new policies are introducing much stricter criteria for asylum eligibility, expedited removal proceedings, and significantly higher bars for proving credible fear. What this means in human terms is devastating. Families who have fled unimaginable horrors, who have traveled thousands of miles under dangerous conditions, who have risked everything for a chance at safety, will face even more daunting obstacles when they reach American soil. The timelines for asylum case processing are being compressed, giving applicants less time to gather evidence, find legal representation, and prepare their cases. And the consequences of denial are becoming more severe, with fewer opportunities for appeal and faster deportation procedures. Let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention in these discussions: the economic implications of these immigration changes. The United States economy has always benefited enormously from immigration. Immigrants start businesses at higher rates than native-born Americans. They fill critical labor shortages in industries ranging from agriculture to healthcare to technology. They contribute billions in taxes. They buy homes, start families, and create jobs for others. When immigration policies become more restrictive, the economic effects ripple outward in ways that hurt everyone. Companies struggle to find qualified workers. Innovation slows down because talented people from around the world choose to take their skills elsewhere. Communities lose the cultural diversity and economic vitality that immigrants bring. And contrary to popular myths, immigrants don't take jobs from Americans. They complement the workforce, often taking positions that would otherwise remain unfilled and creating additional opportunities through their economic activity and entrepreneurship. But beyond the economics, there's a human dimension to this story that we cannot ignore. Behind every visa application, every green card petition, every asylum claim, there are real people with hopes, dreams, fears, and families. There's the software engineer from India who's been waiting 8 years for a green card while watching his children grow up uncertain about whether they'll have to leave the only country they've ever really known. There's the young woman from Central America who fled gang violence and is desperately trying to prove her asylum case before she's sent back to almost certain danger. There's the elderly parent waiting to be sponsored by their U.S. citizen child, wondering if they'll live long enough to see the reunion they've been dreaming about. These aren't abstract policy debates, they're real lives hanging in the balance. And the changes coming in January 2025 will determine the fate of millions of these stories. So, what should you do if you're currently in the immigration system or planning to enter it? The answer depends on your specific situation, but there are some universal principles that apply across the board. First, do not wait. If you've been considering filing an application, submitting a petition, or taking any action related to your immigration status, now is the time. Policies that are permissive today could be restrictive tomorrow. Applications filed under current rules will generally be grandfathered in, but once new regulations take effect, you'll have to meet the new, more stringent requirements. Second, get your documentation in perfect order. The days of cutting corners or providing incomplete information are over. Every form must be filled out meticulously. Every supporting document must be authentic, properly translated, and clearly organized. Any inconsistencies or gaps in your application will be scrutinized more carefully than ever before. Third, seek qualified legal assistance. Immigration law has always been complex, but it's reaching new levels of intricacy with these upcoming changes. A qualified immigration attorney who stays current with the latest developments can be the difference between success and failure. Yes, legal representation costs money, but the cost of making a mistake in your immigration case is far higher. It could mean separation from your family, loss of job opportunities, or even removal from the United States. Fourth, stay informed. The immigration landscape is changing rapidly, and information that was accurate last week might be outdated today. Follow reliable sources of immigration news. Join communities of people in similar situations, and subscribe to channels like US Visa Corner, where we make it our mission to keep you updated with accurate, timely information about everything happening in US immigration. Fifth, maintain impeccable compliance with all immigration rules. This means keeping track of your visa expiration dates, following all the conditions of your status, reporting address changes promptly, and never working without proper authorization. The enhanced enforcement capabilities coming online in January mean that violations that might have been overlooked in the past will now trigger automatic consequences. Let's address something that's on everyone's mind. Is there any hope for more favorable immigration policies in the future? The honest answer is that immigration policy in the United States tends to swing back and forth depending on political winds, economic conditions, and public sentiment. What's restrictive today could become more open tomorrow, and vice versa. But what's certain is that the changes coming in January 2025 will be the reality we're dealing with for the foreseeable future. The key is resilience and adaptability. Immigration journeys are rarely straightforward. They involve setbacks, delays, unexpected obstacles, and moments of frustration so intense that giving up seems like the only option. But the people who ultimately succeed are those who persist, who adjust their strategies when circumstances change, who seek out accurate information, and who refuse to let bureaucratic hurdles destroy their dreams. Throughout American history, every generation of immigrants has faced its own unique challenges. The Irish faced discrimination and poverty in the mid-1800s. Chinese immigrants were excluded entirely for decades. Europeans fled war and persecution in the early 20th century. Refugees from Southeast Asia rebuilt their lives after conflict tore their countries apart. Latin American immigrants have navigated complex legal systems and often hostile rhetoric. And through it all, immigrants have continued to come, to contribute, to persevere, and ultimately to thrive. You are part of that same story. The policies may change, the processes may become more difficult. The timeline may be longer than you hoped, but your determination and your worth as a human being don't diminish because of bureaucratic decisions made in Washington. One more crucial point. These policy changes don't exist in a vacuum. They're part of larger conversations happening across the United States about national identity, security concerns, economic priorities, and what it means to be American. Understanding this context helps you navigate not just the legal process, but also the cultural and social landscape you're entering. The United States remains a nation built by immigrants, a country whose greatest strength has always been its ability to attract talented, hardworking, ambitious people from every corner of the globe. That fundamental reality hasn't changed, even as policies fluctuate. The question is whether current policies align with that historical identity or represent a temporary departure from it. As we count down to January 2025, the uncertainty can feel overwhelming. Will you be able to renew your visa? Will your green card application finally be approved? Will your family members be able to join you? Will the asylum claim you've been building be heard fairly? These questions keep millions of people awake at night, and the answers depend partly on factors outside your control. But here's what you can control: your level of preparation, your understanding of the system, your compliance with requirements, and your determination to see your immigration journey through to its conclusion, no matter how long it takes. Those factors are entirely within your power, and they make an enormous difference. The immigration system has never been easy. It's designed to be challenging, to test your commitment, to ensure that those who ultimately gain the privilege of living in the United States truly value the opportunity. The changes coming in January will make it harder still, but difficulty doesn't mean impossibility. Countless people before you have navigated these challenges successfully, and countless more will do so in the future. So here's my message to you as we wrap up. Don't panic, but don't be complacent either. The time to act is now. Review your immigration status carefully. Consult with qualified professionals. Make sure your documentation is flawless. Stay informed about ongoing developments. And most importantly, don't give up on your dreams of building a life in the United States, because those dreams are valid and they're worth fighting for. Here at US Visa Corner, we're committed to walking this journey with you. We'll continue bringing you the latest updates, breaking down complex policies into understandable information, and providing the guidance you need to navigate this challenging landscape. If this video helped you understand what's coming in January 2025, hit that like button. Subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update that could affect your immigration journey. Share this video with anyone you know who's navigating the U.S. immigration system. They need this information just as much as you do. The road ahead won't be easy, but you're not walking it alone. We're here, we're paying attention, and we're committed to helping you succeed. Until next time, stay informed, stay prepared, and never stop believing in the future you're building. This is US Visa Corner, and we'll see you in the next video.